Happy October, ghouls and gals. Captain Nostalgia here. Welcome to Abyss Gazing, a horror podcast where we celebrate all things spooky and mental health. Now, we are taking over for the month of October. Granted, we're going to have some victims and villains surprises in there with some old friends. Haven't been on the show in a while. And we're really excited about that. But we are kicking off spooky season with our official coverage of Haunted Screams Expo that happened a few weeks ago in beautiful Hampton, Virginia. This con was really intimate, it was really special, and I have to say it was a lot of fun. And I walked out there with a brand new pinhead tattoo that you guys can check out on our Instagram at Victims and Villains. We've got some really unique interviews in this episode for you guys, episodes and from creators and just talents that we've never had on any Victims and Villains production or podcast, and over 500 episodes. So stay calm, be kind, rewind. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll be back this upcoming Wednesday talking about Dark Glasses, the brand new Argento movie. Have a good one, guys.
Mark,
yeah.
that guy.
And not Baker, man. Danny, what's going on, man?
What's up? How you doing?
We're going good, man. So you're here representing a cookie company called Up Owl Night.
Yes, sir. Up Owl Night Bakers up here in Chesapeake.
Tell us a little bit about what makes your cookie company unique.
All right, so she does all sorts of gourmet flavors that you ain't never heard of. Like she got one over here called the kitchen sink. She put everything in there but the kitchen sink. She designs those sugar cookies over there. That's her specialty. She does that. You can paint your own cookies down there. Put a little water on the paint. It's cool. She got all sorts of flavors, you know? I mean, I don't think I've ever seen any of these flavors in anywhere else before. I've never seen any of these flavors at a different baker.
All right, let's play a game. Are you ready?
All right, let's play.
All right, so you said that everything but the anything. All right, so it has everything but the kitchen sink in it. So I'm just going to I'm going to list off 5 flavors, and you have to tell me if those flavors are in that cookie.
All right.
Chocolate.
Yes.
Peanuts.
Yes.
Mark, give me some food here.
Sprinkles.
Yes.
Oh, dang. Obviously, there's peanut butter.
Peanut butter? No.
We have trumped it. We have trumped the everything but cookie.
But there's a reason they stay away from nuts, typically because of people's allergies, and a lot of people have a nut allergy.
All right, so I'm gonna throw out one more flavor to you. All right, it's a left field choice here. Skittles.
We did M&Ms instead of Skittles.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's the Sour Patch Kids? So let's talk about these like cookies over here. Literally, like I'll post a picture to our Instagram, but we have Tiffany, Valak, Freddy Krueger, Pinhead, Michael Myers, Sam, more Freddy Krueger, Chucky, more Michael Myers. Wait, no, that's not first Michael Myers. We have Beetlejuice, Jason Voorhees, and Pennywise. Can people buy these online?
No, I don't think they can buy them online. They can contact her Facebook. Yeah, okay, sure, never mind. I was wrong. Contact her Facebook, and then you can set it up.
What is your favorite horror character?
My favorite horror character? My favorite horror movie is Evil Dead, so I'm a big fan of Ash.
All right, I respect that.
All right.
All right. So tell us the creation process for how these paint your own cookies work.
So she gets the sugar cookie, and she gets the icing up there, and then she has those icings at the end, the color ones. Put a little water on those, and then she gives you a paintbrush, and you can paint it how you want it. Then you can eat it. It's all edible.
What's your favorite cookie?
My favorite cookie that she makes, I like that lemon one down there. I'm a big sucker for lemon, dude.
So I'm also curious too. Like you talked about like left field choices. There's a Sour Patch one. Yeah. Like, how's that work with like the taste profiles?
So, I was disappointed with the Sour Patch a little bit because no, I don't want to hear none of them yet. No, you ain't talking. No, see, it's not sour. That's the biggest problem. The gummies taste good in it, but it's not sour. So it complements the cookie because it's not sour, I think. If you're expecting sour from a Sour Patch Kids cookie, you're not going to get it with that one.
That's a little sad to hear.
It is, yeah. I was disappointed too.
So we just start just maybe to rectify that, we start making them without the Sour Patch Kids, and then you just kind of get Sour Patch Kids if you buy it.
That is a better idea, actually. Talk to her about that. Just give Sour Patch with the cookie and don't put any in. Okay.
All right, so this might be a different brand here.
Sweet.
All right. Well, this is the thing that everyone's gonna want to know, where they can find the cookies, because you said that if we message her on Facebook, what's the Facebook?
Up Owl Night Baker on Facebook.com. There's a group. She posts all her stuff, and you can contact her right there.
Boom. Make sure that you guys check the links in the bio, and thank you.
No problem.
We have here Brian. He is a clay sculptor dude. Mark, what's the technical term for that?
So it would be a sculptor in the medium of clay.
Yep, basically, just teaching people the power of creativity.
And it looks like you do a lot of resin work too?
Yes, so everything starts out in clay, and then I create my own molds and cast in resin.
Are they like the silicone multi-part molds, or are you using single use?
No, it's the silicone.
So how did you get started with this?
When I was younger, I liked collecting a lot of masks and a lot of collectibles and things, and so came a point where I just kind of wanted to try my hand at making my own.
What was the first one that you built? These are probably a foot high. Mm-hmm. What was the first one that character you did that was that type of height?
I'm not sure about that type of height. I did a few pieces when I was in animation and did some claymation, so I did some small characters there. And then I also did a few life-size Halloween masks. Really, really simple and crude, but those were some of my first pieces.
Now, so you have this thing over here that I'm really interested in talking about. We're a mental health podcast, so we like to always talk about it when we can. It's clay therapy. Can you kind of talk about what this is?
Absolutely. So the thing is that every single one of us has our own version, our own kind of flavor of creativity. When we're kids, we have our imaginations just running wild. All kinds of crazy things pop out. The problem is that when you grow up, you start getting responsibilities. You start getting told, you have to do this and this. And when you go through school, the core is English, math, science, and art just becomes an elective, even though creative thinking is things that kind of help to rule the world. And so what I like to do with this is that when you're doing something creative with art, sometimes you can express yourself in ways that words may not be able to describe yourself. It also gives you a special kind of freedom and permission to just kind of let go and dig into, whatever it is that's kind of holding you back. And the other thing that's great about it is that not only are you creating meaningful pieces for yourself, but you're creating images that every single time you see something that you created, it's going to have a special meaning that's going to be triggered. So, the whole idea of a picture is worth 1,000 words, the way that we learn best is through images and through interpretation like that. So when you're creating something, now you have a piece of artwork that, is, for example, one of the lessons that I teach is, the words that we have written on our skin. And I did a sculpture that basically symbolize, sometimes even little things, even if we don't mean to, we might be saying, I'm not pretty, or I'm not happy, or, I'm stupid, I'm not smart. And if just the slight switch of erasing those, just like, if you had a marker, just erasing those and writing new words, like, I'm amazing today, I am creative, I am my own person. And you're going to be able to look at that piece, and it's going to bring back all of those memories, just kind of triggering those things.
That's awesome. And so
a lot of your stuff here is painted.
Yes.
I paint war game stuff. Uh-huh. So I know the process involved in some of these. Do you paint them all, and what kind of mediums do you use for it? What's the process for getting these painted the way they are?
So for me, I like painting with the airbrush, and I do acrylic inks through the airbrush.
I'm familiar with both. So
Yeah, I'm not a miniature paint guy, so I don't know it. This is all news to me, man.
over the last couple of years working with Josh, we've interviewed some of the model painters that do stuff like Warhammer and things like that. So he's kind of new to the world that I've been involved in for a decade or so, and it's interesting to see those same techniques used on different mediums. I'm working on 1.5 to 2 inch tall plastic models, and he's working with 18-inch tall busts of, right behind us we've got one of Dracula from the Bram Stoker's Dracula from who did that? Was that Scorsese that did that one? I think it was in the 90s. So there's things of it looks like, are these vampires that are possibly cancer patients too?
Yes, so the Little Heroes project I started about 4 or 5 years ago, and these are all different kids that I've met, each one battling a different disability. And so what I like to do is I've met them, and these are ones, and I created these characters that is inspired by their personalities. And so I create the first one, and I just send it and give it to them just for them to keep, and then I kind of create more just to kind of, so I can share their story as well as other collectors can have them as well.
And you're out here doing some really noble things.
Yeah. I mean, the amazing thing, and that's kind of where this whole journey kind of took off, because when you meet some of these kids that are told that they're not going to live to a year old, or are in a hospital bed hooked up to 10 IVs, but yet they have so much creativity, they have so much joy and happiness, even with everything that's going on, and yet you can walk down the street and somebody's upset over the most minuscule things.
Yeah, it kind of really puts life into perspective for you.
Oh, absolutely.
So, all right, well, you have a clay model that you're currently working on. I'm going to let you get back to it. Thank you for the few minutes you talked about your art and your charitable works.
Thank you, absolutely.
Where can people find you online?
So online, I'm at briansartofcreation.com, and on Instagram and most of the handles, it's Alter Ego Designs, designs with a Z.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
I am now here with Chris from Screamfest Studios. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing excellent, thank you. We're here at Haunted Screams Expo for 2022. Just got the thing up and running, so we've got a lot of people coming through and checking out a really cool horror con. So I'm doing well.
So tell us a little bit about what sets your studios apart from other horror-themed businesses.
Sure, we're a little bit different in the avenue that we make custom tombstones is our predominantly popular product. We make them set up, most people are familiar with the Spirit Halloween tombstones that last about a year. These are a little different. We can make them custom to be anything you want, from large to small. They've got a concrete coating on them, rubberized bottom, PVC pipe. We can just drop a piece of rebar in the ground and drop it on there, and you're good to go for the entire season. That's our predominant product. We also sell things and make signs. We have some squishy skulls, stress skulls, things of that nature. So we're a little unique in that regard. We're more in the line of Halloween and horror in that regard. So a little bit different than everybody else.
Talk about the process of making one of these coffins.
Sure. Well,
tombstones.
Tombstones. We're close, right? Yeah. No. So the tombstone is actually just an avenue of we make it with construction-style foam, so it's a little bit more dense, a little bit more rigid. We end up getting an idea and carve that into the stone. Then from there, it takes a lot of, I say a lot of man hours in it. We're sanding it, gluing it together, putting the concrete texturing on it, painting it. In some cases, we'll clear coat it depending upon the project and what it is. Although I can do several at a time, it's about a week process to get things done from beginning to end. Not certainly my full-time job. It's just a weekend, so a couple hours here, a couple hours there. And so, considering you're probably spending $20, $30 on a tombstone from Spirit. Again, nothing knocking Spirit. They do a great job. That'll last you a year. Here's something that can last you a decade, and we're only charging for the 2 by 1 foot stone $55. Pretty good deal.
So you have characters that span so many different horror franchises. I'm seeing Jigsaw, Michael Myers, Pennywise. What is your favorite or also most challenging to create?
Okay, so my personal favorite are the more realistic, not necessarily a themed in mind. We've got one here on display that it gives you a more realistic view of something that's been out for hundreds of years. That's my overall look that I was going for when I started the business. Some of the more challenging ones are some of the more detailed characters. So some people will like, hey, I want a face of Freddy Krueger. Okay, that's going to pose a challenge just because of all of his burn marks. There's ways we can do it, but it adds a lot more time. And unfortunately, in the long run, it can be a lot more money. So that's my most challenging one. The more detail to get it to result to show is a little bit more of a challenge.
So you make both big and small. What are some of the things that you have over here as far as small goes?
So I've got a lot of small ones. I can go from realistic with moss coverings on it. I've got serial killers, which are very popular right now. Of course, we've got our horror movie, Plain Jane, and then on our large tombstones, it's a matter of right now, for the most part, what I choose to create. We really haven't had any custom orders for something very specific in a large format. We do them. It's just a lot of people will. I'm not sure every average day person wants to spend $400 to $500 on a monument that's 8 feet tall, and I understand that. That's fine. It's a project that takes maybe a couple months to turn. So, but we also do all kinds of custom work. So if people have a very specific item in mind, we can do it. We had a customer this last year that wanted a Jason. It was Friday the 13th Part 5 tombstone in the first 2 minutes of the movie. So he had an idea of exactly what he wanted. So we had to be very thorough in getting that to be exactly what he wanted. And we were able to do that great. He was very happy with the product. So, yeah, custom orders all day long, we'll do them.
And, Mark, you got any questions?
No, I'm good.
All right, well.
It's busy here today, and lots of people are stopping by, and I don't want to hold him up more than we need to.
No, that's okay. I mean, I don't mind. Right now, a lot of people are taking pictures, and we need to remind them of the contest, so we can get some free booth space next year. So, so there's a contest here today that the best booth design gets a prize next year of some free vendor space. So I'm all about that.
That's awesome. We'll definitely help you out on here. Make sure that you guys like it on Instagram. Speaking of socials, where can people find you guys online?
Yes, you bet. It is screamfeststudios.com as the website, and Screamfest Studios on both Instagram and Facebook. You can find me. My shop's tied into that, so if there's something on the website you want to order or something you want to buy directly, you can do that. We're ready to take those orders right now.
Well, Chris, thank you so much, and have a happy Halloween.
You bet. Thank you. We're going to be busy. We'll see you again.
If you or someone you know is listening to this podcast right now and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, we encourage you guys to please reach out. This is the heartbeat of why we do what we do. Suicide is currently the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and as of this recording, there are 132 suicides that take place each and every day on American soil. And when you scale back internationally, there are 800,000 successful suicides. That is one death roughly every 40 seconds. So if you or someone you know is struggling, you guys can go to victimsandvillains.net/hope. That resource is going to be right in the description wherever you guys are currently listening or streaming this. There you'll find resources that include the National Suicide Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. You can also text HELP to 741-741. We also have a plethora of other resources, including churches, getting connected with counselors, LGBT resources like the Trevor Project, and also veteran hotline as well. Please, if you hear nothing else in the show, understand that you listening to this right now, have value and worth. We get it. Suicide, depression, mental health, these are hard topics, and the stigma around them doesn't make it any easier. But please consider the resources right in the descriptions below wherever you guys are listening, because once again, you have value and you have worth. So please stay with us.
I am sitting here with filmmaker and, oddly enough, former bodyguard Michael Strider. But I'm not going to introduce you as the bodyguard. We don't have to talk about that, man. Go check out Pam and Tommy if you want to see a little bit of him.
Episode 8. I think it was episode 8. At the very beginning of the episode. I'm Motley Crue's bodyguard. So
Well, let's talk about this movie. It is called Lake Norman. Tell me a little bit about this movie.
So we are doing basically a parody. It's basically, the premise of it is, what would Michael, Jason, and Leatherface do if they were friends on their day off? So it's kind of a comedy. We still have all the elements of the typical slasher film. There's lots of killing, and there's lots of beautiful women, and stuff like that. We take a lot from the original movies back in the 80s and 90s and 70s, and just combine it and put a comical twist on it.
All right, so I want to play a game then.
Okay.
All right, so where do the three of them go to eat on their day off?
They would go to Jason's house.
Because, Jason's mom.
That's actually in a part of the movie. So they would have a huge dinner, like a feast, at Jason's house.
All right, so Leatherface wants to go to the movies. What movie are we going to see?
If he wanted to go to the movies, he would go see Smokey and the Bandit.
All right, I can take it. So kind of talk about, like, the challenges of bringing these three iconic horror villains into something like a comedy, which has never been... I think, like, you can go back and, like, watch some of their movies, and you're like, oh, they're laughably bad, but can you kind of talk about some of the challenges of, like, actually making stuff as far as, like, gags and, like, bringing the comedic element into this?
Yeah, it was kind of a challenge to do the comical thing and add it in a really cool way instead of it being cheesy, and I think we probably do have a couple of parts that are cheesy to it. But we have some very good effects artists that are attached to us that are helping us out, and obviously it's a very, very, very low budget film since you can't make a lot of money from it. It's a parody, so I think getting the script where we wanted it was probably the most challenging of everything. And obviously the suits that you'll see in a little while, very, very in depth. I mean, the Jason suit is screen accurate to Part 7, so it's pretty awesome. We're very proud of it for sure.
So Part 7 is such an interesting departure from, like, what fans, like, typically look for when you talk about that series. What is it about that particular look that you guys wanted to? Was it Kane Hodder's debut or something else?
It was just, I really loved that suit, and I loved Kane Hodder. But I mean, there's a couple other guys that I think the final chapter was my favorite one, but I love the suit that he wore in Part 7 because it's exposed, the ribs are exposed, and all the bones and stuff. And I just thought that suit was probably the most in depth and more detailed than any of the other suits that I've seen, from the franchise. The final chapter is always going to be my favorite.
I would probably say Part 6 is my favorite. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like don't get me wrong. Final chapter. Jace. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. To Tommy Jarvis. So
I liked all of them except for Part 5. I wasn't a fan of Part 5 when they did the ambulance driver.
We don't have to talk about Part 5.
So, all of them have something really great about them. There's something for everybody in those movies.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things too is, like, every one of these guys kind of has, like, a unique killing style. When you watch their movies, have a little bit of thing that drives them. When you take the bloodline out of something like Halloween, when Michael Myers is kind of just left aimless. Well, I guess Halloween Resurrection, but we don't have to talk about that. Could you guys talk about what motivates Michael in this movie?
I think that he's motivated by hanging out with his friends and not wanting to look inferior to them and wanting to be a badass. And so it's definitely a different approach to all three of these characters than anything that you've ever seen before. Most definitely. Their personalities change a little bit throughout the movie. And, you've never seen them funny before. You've never seen them act funny, like blatantly be funny. And some of the scenes are really, really, really pretty awesome as far as funny and comedic. So we're definitely very proud of that aspect of it. I
So-
can't wait to get it on film for sure.
So I know that we've seen Jason and Freddy kind of duel it out. And I got to ask, which one out of these three, who has the higher body count?
Jason. But they don't fight in this movie, though, for sure. They're friends in this movie.
Also, this is a team-up movie.
Yeah, so it's basically what they would do on their day off if they were friends. And so it's going to be it's the three of them against the world.
So I think, obviously, we cover a lot of independent films here. We run our own film festival. So with this one, I know that like Hollywood's like, oh, we're gonna announce it, shoot it, it'll be out within 2 years. Where are you guys at right now in the staging?
We've got it written, and we're going to film it probably in the first quarter of next year, in the springtime. So then it should be out by mid to late next year, by Halloween, we'll say.
Are you guys doing any crowd fundraising for that?
Yeah, we're going to have to do it probably right after the first of the year. That's how we're doing every bit of it, as a matter of fact.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited about seeing these three of these guys team up. It sounds like you guys have quite a fun time ahead of you guys. My last question is, where can people find you guys online?
Right now, I'm on Instagram under Lake Norman Film. You can also look at Michael Strider, or is it Strider Image? I can't remember. It's my Instagram account. Can you believe that? Let me look at it while we're talking here. Can you believe that? I don't even know my own Instagram. That's pretty crazy, dude. Let's see here. I am under Strider Image. So STRIDER Image.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for taking time to talk to me, man. I can't wait for you to get to see this. It's going to be cool.
I can't wait to see it either. You sold me. You sold me on this, man. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, BFFs. Let's go.
Rock and roll, brother.
If you guys have been following us for any length of time, we are proudly based out of Richmond, Virginia. We love the chance to showcase local attractions, artists, filmmakers, and I'm here currently with Miss Justine from Fright Manor. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. So tell me a little bit about what makes Fright Manor special.
All right. Well, we are an indoor haunt located in Chesapeake, Virginia. We are number 1 in Virginia, number 4 in the country, according to the Haunt Master General. So that's a pretty big bragging rights right there. We just started our season last night. We're running every weekend up until Halloween. We are open most of the week prior. It's going to be a lot of fun. September's a really good time to come out because the lines aren't super long yet. And we do other events throughout the entire year, so Christmas, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and then two to-be announced dates in April and May. Not sure what they will be yet, but previously we've had Feaster, Zombie Apocalypse, and Cinco de Mayhem, which is my personal favorite.
So how did you guys kind of get started with, doing kind of indoor frights, and how do other holidays factor into what you guys do?
I don't know the whole origin story. My boss Mark has been doing haunts for many years. I've seen some pictures of his yard back in the I think the 90s. Very decked out, very cool.
Editing this out.
I don't have any lollipops, but feel free to take any other candy.
Thank you. No, my oh my gosh. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
So somebody stole my older daughter's stuff in the bathroom, so she's asking you if you've seen it. Thank you.
5, 4, 3.
Mark, the owner, Mark Curling, he's been doing haunts for a long time. This is our second location for Fright Manor. I don't remember the address of the first one as I wasn't there, but I have been there for the past 5 years, and it is my favorite place to work. It changes every year. Right now it is 80% different than it was last year. Mark is a madman, and we love him. I call him Papa Spooks. I think he's a fan of that nickname. It is great. Our whole Fright family is the best. We all went out to dinner last night after our opening night. It's the most fun. And, it's all indoors. It's adult oriented, but, kids can still come. There were some little kids that were scared last night, so I told them when they went through to tell anybody that scared them that they needed to leave to go play with Chucky and that they would be okay.
Please tell me that Mark has a Twitter handle named Papa Spooks.
That I don't know of. I don't know if he's much of the Twitterer, but he is on Instagram. He runs our Instagram. It's Fright Manor VA. We also have a Facebook account. People can go and leave reviews on there. If you follow us, he will announce the special events that we'll have. So scattered throughout spooky season, we'll have some surprises. Last year we had Redneck's Revenge and Killer Granny Night, and then a zombie apocalypse night. It was so much fun, especially being a killer granny. I was Chucky with rollers in my hair. I had a walker and everything. It was just amazing.
So I think really what sets you guys apart, I feel like a lot of different haunts and kind of like haunted places take place this time of year, but you guys do it year-round, which is fascinating to me. Can you kind of talk about some of the challenges of maybe advertising or like even planning for like outside of the traditional spooky season?
Yeah, well, a couple years ago, right when I first started, I think that might have been the first year that they did the Christmas ones. So there was 2 weekends that they did Christmas, and I was Freddy Krueger, and most people weren't very scared of me. They kept asking me if I was his daughter. So I realized then I do small and creepy much better, which is then when I decided to create my Chucky, which I've been doing for a couple years now. We have a really good following on our Facebook and Instagram, so we post a lot of stuff on there. So back in 2020, we decided that we were going to do, in addition to Christmas, also St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day. Or no, take that back. It was Valentine's Day and Easter were our planned ones. Then Valentine's Day was so good, we were like, screw it, let's do St. Patrick's Day too. And so we had it all planned out. I really wanted to be a leprechaun, but then COVID hit. So that put a big damper on that season. So we had to wait and then open up regular season, the end of 2020. But then 2021, we came out guns a-blazing. We had our Christmas event, and then we had Love Bites for Valentine's, Leprechaun's Revenge for St. Patrick's Day, Happy Feaster was our Easter one, then Cinco de Mayhem, and then Independence Day, which is very hard to say. That was our 4th of July one. So this year we'll be doing a couple of those again, a couple of new surprises. Mark is a creative genius, so we're just waiting to see what he throws our way, and we know how we can handle it and come up with some crazy costumes.
All right, so I need you to sell it to right now. You've done such a good job selling it so far. But let's talk prices. What are people that are traveling to Chesapeake going to be paying coming to y'all's haunt?
Well, I will first off start with Mark is very proud of the fact that we haven't raised our prices in years. We are very reasonable. $15 cash, $20 card. And for an additional $10, you can upgrade to full contact. If you are 18 and older, you have to sign a waiver. And in doing so, you get a glow necklace, which tells our actors that you are fair game. We will drag you, grab you, strap you to things, separate you from your group. We will put you in places you don't want to be. There may be blood, there may be glitter, who knows? It's dealer's choice, and it's a fun experience, and it's different every time depending on who the actor is there that night. So I definitely recommend.
I don't know what's worse to try to get off, blood or glitter. A buddy of mine sent glitter in a wedding invitation a couple years ago, and it took us like a week and a half to clean it up.
Well, we're going to leave our mark on you no matter what.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, well, you guys are open right now. You guys, like I said, you guys are open every weekend between now and Halloween, and it looks like the 26th through the 31st, you guys are fully open. But where can people find more information online?
Yeah, if you're on Facebook, you can search Fright Manor. Might be Fright Manor, Virginia, if that doesn't show up. But we've got reviews all over the place. We're on Instagram. The handle is Fright Manor VA. It's, we're kind of all over the place, and we're partnering with Waterside this year for an event on October 29th called Faces of Halloween. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know all the details yet, but from what I've been told, it's going to be just an event stretched out through many of the businesses and bars in Waterside. So it's new and fun, and they've got some amazing cash prizes for some costume contests. So check it out.
Looking forward to it. Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
How would you guys like to help us get mental health resources into schools, conventions, and other events? Well, now you can. Simply go to patreon.com/victims and villains for as little as $1 a month. You guys can help us get mental health resources into current and upcoming generations, educate and break down stigma surrounding mental health, suicide, and depression. And you get exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else. And you guys can tell us which Nicolas Cage movie you want us to cover, and we'll do it. All it takes to get started is to go to patreon.com/victims and villains, or simply click the link in the episode description wherever you guys are currently listening or streaming this episode. Pick your tier and get started today. Yes, it's that simple. So quickly select the tier that you want and help us get hope into the hands of the depressed and the suicidal today.
I am here with Gary-J-Tunnicliffe. What's going on?
Right, that was amazing. You actually said my name completely right. Even I get my name wrong most of the time. So yes, I am Gary-J-Tunnicliffe.
I've listened to so many podcasts talk about all the unmade movies you've done. So that's the reason why.
My unmade career is amazing. I am so much better in the unmade world. I literally am. I could have been a contender. I really feel like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's true. You also know, then, having heard other podcasts with me, that when you say it's going to be a 5-minute podcast, we will actually speak for 4.5 hours while I just lament about my whole life and career.
I mean, I have time. I don't know if you do.
Hey, man. I've got the time if you've got the money, baby.
So my first question, just kind of speaking on unmade stuff, is for those that don't know, you have been in the Hellraiser franchise since Hell on Earth.
Yes. I was a fetus when I began on the Hellraiser movies. Came in at the company who did the first effects on Hellraiser 1 and 2. Had just completed Hellraiser 2. So my first foray into Hellraiser was doing Hellraiser 3, and I was just a lackey. I made all of the boxes. But by the end of the film, I was kind of elevated up and became workshop supervisor. And then on Hellraiser 4, I took over as the effects designer. And since then, I've done all of the effects and also kind of design props and also design effect sequences, and then did acting in it as well. And then the final Hellraiser Judgment movie, I wrote, directed, and played the auditor. So, yeah.
So that's actually, Hellraiser Judgment is actually one of my favorite sequels of the whole series.
Mine too.
It was a different spin on the lore and how it was presented. And I think it worked really well with people coming to the house and getting judged and all that stuff.
I felt, honestly, I mean, look, we had $350,000, which isn't a lot of money at all, So I figured swing for the fences and I had to try and do something different. I couldn't just do another hashing and trying to inject it. So I tried to just bring something different to it and have a bit of fun with it. And I thought the Stygian Inquisition and the Auditor and his gang might give it a bit of, a spin. The original script I wrote was more of that, and then the studio were like, we don't get it. What's all this eating vomit and spitting out stuff? And they didn't want any of that originally. They wanted it all gone. They wanted it just a classic, another 5, 6, 7, 8, you know what I mean? And I was like, guys, please let me do something different. So again, it's very hard when I meet fans of the film who say, I like the auditor stuff and all that health stuff, but I hate the police stuff. And I go, yeah, that wasn't my idea. I didn't want to do that shit either, And then if you knew what they cut out of the movie, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that would have been really cool as well. So, frustrating. I mean, I hope that the new guys who are doing the new Hellraiser, they get a chance to do something different and make it cool again, because I certainly there were several Hellraiser films that I worked on and was like, by the end of it, was utterly depressed. Like, if you think I finished on Hellworld and was like, yay, we made a corker of a film there, you're wrong. I mean, there were fun moments to it. Working with Lance was great, but I thought Hellworld was a pile of shit. But again, there are people who come to me and go, dude, I love Hellworld, man. I'm like, you do? Wow, okay. You do?
I do.
Okay, we're now going to kill him on camera. So I mean, that's okay. Everyone loves what. And again, I know there are people coming to me and say, I love Hellraiser Judgment, and I know there's a plethora of people who fucking hate it. So, hey, man, horror's very polarizing. Some people love one thing, some people love that. The only difference between me and some people in the horror industry is that I'm like Sammy Hagar. I know that people love David Lee Roth, and they're going to tell you that they prefer you. No one's going to come up to me and say, dude, great to meet you. Your movie sucks. But they'll say it online, so I'm cool with that.
So one of the things that not to say that I'm not excited for the upcoming Hulu reboot, but it's interesting because I felt like with Judgment, the way that it ended, it opened up for possibility of sequels.
Yeah.
Did you have ideas for sequels?
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely we had ideas for sequel. The sequel was going to be the character of Paul Taylor, his Pinhead, has kind of been banished, and he's back on Earth. And then a new Hell Priest would have been put in position above the Auditor, but the Auditor prefers Pinhead, so he's kind of leaving a breadcrumb trail to get Pinhead back, to get his order back, and it would have ended with a battle between an incoming Hell Priest and the old Hell Priest, with the Auditor kind of favouring the previous guy. There was talk about it. The thing that happened was, we finished Hellraiser Judgment. I got a personal call from Bob Weinstein saying, hey man, how did you do this for the money? Great job, we love it, fantastic. We're going to make many movies together. And 3 months later, Harvey Weinstein was bought out for the shit he did, and Dimension went pop, and that was the end of my career with those guys. And the rights were sold off as part of the deal with the Weinstein case.
So my last question is that, for those that don't know, maybe it's a little history lesson real quick, is that you originally were proposed to do the 9th installment, but Scream 4 came up.
Yeah.
What would have been the original Hellraiser 9?
So I wrote the original script, which again was low budget. It was $200,000 budget. So I wrote it as literally to be a dinner party, with a kid turning up saying, help me, and kind of. So the core story was what the film was shot, but all that stuff with the handheld footage, Mexico stuff, none of that was in there at all. It was like a dinner party with two families, and you find out their two sons had been lost and came back, and then the Cenobites come at the end. And it's like a big sellout. So I just think that the film I would have made would have been a lot more gory and a lot more visceral. It was very hard to write that film and then have it rewritten without my knowledge and read pieces of it. And then when I got back, to give people an idea of the timeline, I was 2 weeks into working on Scream, on set, on Scream 4, when I got the call about Hellraiser Revelations. By the time I came back from Scream, they'd already finished the movie. So I literally wrote it over a weekend, got paid a little bit of money, and then they said, we're going to have someone else do some rewrites. I came back and was handed a DVD, went home, watched it, and called my buddy Mike, who did the effects for me, and went, what the fucking hell is this piece of shit? And why did they cast these people? And what is this girl crying about in the movie, And, although I have had people come to me and say, you know what, if you look beyond the shit of it, you can see there's a Hellraiser movie in there. There's a couple of moments in it I do like. I think the moment when the kid says, when he knocks the one guy out and says, I gave you the skin off my back, and the guy flicks the blade and says, it's not the shirt off your back I want. I think that's a very Hellraiser moment. So I tried to write into the script skinning bodies and coming out of the mattress and kind of, something that was more like the original, But it just, unfortunately, the way it was interpreted by the director, who was a big Hellraiser fan and told me he was going to do a great job, it didn't come out in the end, I'm afraid. The dreams and hopes of people saying what they're going to do. If you give people the ingredients, doesn't mean they're going to necessarily make a great cake, Sometimes they make a shit-tasting cake. And maybe my ingredients weren't very good, I don't know. I thought there was some promising stuff in the script, but unfortunately the realization was a little lackluster. And the casting of Stephen Smith Collins was a bad idea. As soon as I was seeing him, and people have said, it's the makeup that's bad. It's not. Some people shouldn't wear a makeup like that. But one of the reasons I cast Paul Taylor was because of his physicality. There's a face structure you need to look a certain way. And I knew when I met Paul that he would look good in the makeup. He has a kind of a bit of a Peter Cushing-y Ray Fiennes, or he did. He's getting a bit old now. but he was a bit more slender, and I knew his face would look good in the makeup. So I knew he would look more like, whereas Stephen Smith Collins, as soon as I saw a picture of him, I was like, no matter what makeup you do, it won't look like Pinhead. He's going to look a bit rotund. And it did.
I absolutely agree, man. Well spoken.
Understand, the effects budget on that film, on Revelations, when people diss it, the effects budget was $6,000 to do all of the makeup effects and be on set. $6,000 was the budget. The effects budget on Hellraiser Judgment was $22,000 for all of the makeup effects. You know, and 2 weeks to build it. So when people are like, "Oh, it looks so shitty," it's like 2 weeks and $7,000. I'd like to see you knock out a Pinhead Cenobite, a pseudo Pinhead Cenobite, a female Chatterer, and all the blood and guts effects, and a skin suit.
Well, I thank you for your time, sir.
Very welcome. Absolute pleasure. Great to hear all you guys out there in horror, crazy world. Love you guys. Love your shirts. Love Event Horizon. I kind of worked on that, but didn't. So, yeah, I did. Yeah, I was the company I worked for, who did the Hellraiser movies, did Event Horizon. So I was the best story I can tell you a great story about Event Horizon. That's kind of a secret story, although it's not. You know the frozen body when it crashes to the ground. So when they built that, one of the guys at the effects shop thought it'd be funny to put a Barbie doll head inside it. So my partner in the company called me and went, "I'm in big trouble." And I said, "Why?" He said, "I literally got pulled into the producer's office and they said, we'd like to show you the footage of this thing." And they showed you the body collapsing and a Barbie doll head literally bounced out of the body and landed right in front of camera. And he said, "What the hell do I do?" And I was like, "I think you're building the effect and shooting again for free." And I think the guy who did it, unfortunately, thought it would just kind of like, it was so small it would disappear. But unfortunately, as luck would have it, it literally rolled into camera. And they had to reshoot the frozen man smashing again. So, yeah, one of those things that, I think Event Horizon's great. There's when I did a character called Spike Cenobite. I don't know if you ever saw the Spike Cenobite. It was based on one of the images from Event Horizon with someone with the spikes against their mouth. So I kind of got the idea from that. So yeah, I love Event Horizon. Not the biggest Paul Tom Anderson fan of the other stuff he's done, but I think that film's a gem of a movie. And in some ways, The Auditor is a bit of a tribute to the Sam Neill character. A little bit.